I watched Mrs. Vance die on a live stream from the Swiss Alps at the exact same moment I saw her pouring coffee in her kitchen across the street. My binoculars were already up. That's the thing about being the neighborhood insomniac. You stop apologizing for your habits and you start trusting your eyes. I don't sleep, I watch. And Chloe Vance are currently on the European leg of a limitless, sun-drenched adventure. They are the golden couple. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect life. They post daily updates of themselves jumping off cliffs in Santorini, tasting wine in Tuscany, and, as of this morning, skiing in Zermatt. But to me, they are the people at 404 Oak Lane who haven't opened their blinds in October. The discrepancy started small. A delivery truck. That was the first crack. 3 months ago, I saw an Amazon truck drop off a package on their porch. Lucas opened the door, snatched it, and slammed it shut. Nothing weird about that, right? Except that 2 hours earlier, on Instagram, Lucas had posted a story of himself eating street tacos in Mexico City. You can't get from Mexico City to a suburb in Ohio in 2 hours, not without a teleporter. I started a logbook. Date, time, observation. November 12th. Instagram shows them surfing in Bali. Reality shows their upstairs bathroom light flickering on and off from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. December 3rd. YouTube vlog features a van tour in the Arizona desert. Reality shows the actual van, a Mercedes Sprinter, sitting in their garage under a tarp, gathering dust. I could see the tires flattening from lack of use through the garage window. People fake vacations all the time, I know that. It's the influencer way. You take 100 photos in one weekend and spread them out over 6 months to look busy. But this was different.
This wasn't just time-shifting content. This was a total fabrication of existence. And it was getting sloppy. That morning, the morning of the coffee and the death, was the breaking point. I had my iPad propped up on the windowsill, playing their live stream. The title was Dangerous Off-Piste Skiing in Zermatt. On the screen, Chloe was laughing, snow goggles reflecting the blinding white sun. She looked healthy, vibrant, alive. She shouted something about the altitude, her voice crisp and clear. I lowered the binoculars and looked through the gap in the curtains of their kitchen window, not 50 feet away. The real Chloe was there, but she didn't look like the woman on the screen. She looked like a ghost. She was wearing a gray bathrobe that had seen better days. Her hair was matted, tied back in a messy bun. She was leaning against the counter, staring at a coffee mug with a vacancy in her eyes that chilled me more than the winter air outside. Then, on the screen, disaster struck. The digital Chloe took a turn too sharp. The camera tumbled, screaming, snow flying. The feed cut to black with a dramatic connection lost graphic. The chat went wild. Is she okay? Did she fall? OMG, praying for Chloe. Across the street, the real Chloe took a sip of coffee. She didn't react. She didn't know she had just died online. She just stood there in the dim light of the Ohio morning, trapped in a house that the world thought was empty. I needed to know how they were doing it, and more importantly, why. I waited until nightfall. The routine at the Vance house was strict. The lights went out downstairs at 10 p.m. sharp, but the blue glow from the basement window, the one obscured by thick bushes, stayed on all night. That was the engine room. I grabbed my dog, Buster. He's a golden retriever, the ultimate suburban camouflage. Nobody questions a man walking a dog, even at midnight.
I walked past my driveway, across the quiet street, and let Buster sniff around the edge of their lawn. I wasn't trespassing, not yet. I was just assessing the perimeter. The trash cans were out. Tuesday is pickup day. I'm not proud of this, but curiosity is a powerful itch. I tied Buster to the mailbox post and flipped the lid of their recycling bin. It was filled with takeout containers, hundreds of them. Thai, pizza, burgers. For 2 people who were supposedly eating fondue in Switzerland, they were consuming a hell of a lot of local Papa John's. But underneath the grease-stained cardboard, I found something else. Tech boxes, high-end stuff. A box for an NVIDIA A6000 graphics card. That's a $5,000 component used for professional rendering. And another box, Xsense Motion Capture Suit Pro Link. I froze. A motion capture suit. It clicked. They weren't just editing old footage, they were generating it. Deepfakes. They were puppets. They could be anywhere in the world without leaving their basement, as long as they had the computing power and the motion data. But why the charade? If you have that kind of tech, why use it to fake a travel vlog? I heard a noise. The front door of the Vance house clicked open. I dropped the lid and unclipped Buster in one fluid motion, dragging him into the shadows of the neighbor's hedges. Lucas came out. He didn't look like the tanned, fit adventurer from the videos. He looked pale, puffy. He was wearing sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. He looked around the street, his eyes darting nervously. He wasn't looking at the scenery. He was checking for witnesses. He walked to the side of the house, towards the garage. He dragged a heavy black trash bag with him. It wasn't recycling. It was heavy. It didn't crinkle. It thudded. He heaved it into the large rolling bin, the one for general refuse. Then he stood there for a moment, breathing hard, his breath pluming in the cold air. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, looked up at the moon, and went back inside. The locks tumbled shut. I waited 5 minutes. 10. I crept back to the trash can. I know what you're thinking. You think I found a body. You think I found Chloe. I didn't. I found the suit. It was the motion capture suit, specifically the female one. It was cut into pieces, destroyed. The sensors were smashed. The black lycra was shredded, and it was covered in something dark. Not blood. Ink? No. I touched it. It was sticky. Wine. Red wine. I went back to my house, heart hammering against my ribs. I sat in the dark of my living room and pulled up their channel again. A new video had been posted 20 minutes ago. An update. "I'm okay," the title screamed. I clicked it. It was Chloe. She was in a hospital bed, a European hospital room, judging by the outlets in the background. She had a bandage on her head. "Hey guys," she whispered, giving a weak wave. That was scary. I took a nasty tumble, but Lucas got me to the clinic. Just a concussion. We're going to take a few days off to recover. The comments were pouring in. "So brave. Get well soon. We love you." I looked at the video closely. The lighting was perfect. The shadows moved across her face as she turned. It was flawless, Oscar-worthy CGI. But I noticed something. A tiny glitch. When she raised her hand to wave, the shadow of her pinky finger clipped through the pillow for a fraction of a second. It was a fake, a construct. But here's the problem. I had just seen the real Chloe that morning. She was fine. She wasn't injured. So why fake an injury? Why destroy the suit? Unless the real Chloe wasn't cooperating anymore. The next 3 days were a blur of caffeine and paranoia. I didn't leave my window. The house went silent. No lights in the kitchen, no movement in the bedroom, just that steady, pulsing blue glow from the basement. The online narrative shifted. The recovery videos stopped. Instead, Lucas posted a solemn text update. "Chloe's condition has worsened. There was some internal swelling.
We are flying her back to the States for emergency surgery. Please respect our privacy." This was the exit strategy. I could feel it. They were killing off the character. Or maybe they were preparing to announce a death to explain why Chloe would never be seen again. I had to do something. The police wouldn't listen. My neighbors are faking a vacation isn't exactly probable cause. I needed proof of life, or proof of death. On the 4th night, a storm rolled in. Thunder shook the window panes, masking the sound of the suburbs. It was perfect cover. I dressed in black. I felt ridiculous, like a burglar in a B-movie, but the adrenaline was cold and sharp in my veins. I crossed the street. The rain was torrential. I went around the back. The Vance house loomed above me, dark and silent. I tried the back door, locked. I tried the kitchen window, locked. I went to the basement window, the one with the blue glow. It was a window well, dug deep into the earth, covered by a plastic grate. I lifted the grate. It wasn't latched. I slid down into the well, mud soaking my knees. I put my face to the glass. The room beyond was a technological dungeon. Servers hummed in racks against the far wall, their fans screaming to keep the temperature down. In the center of the room was a green screen setup. Cameras on tripods surrounded a central mat. And sitting in a chair facing the monitors was Lucas. He was wearing the other motion capture suit, the male one. He was hooked up to the machine, wires trailing from his limbs like a marionette. On the massive monitor in front of him, I saw the digital avatar of Chloe. She was lying in a hospital bed. Lucas moved his arm, and the digital Chloe moved hers. He tilted his head, and she tilted hers. He was puppeteering her. He was playing both roles. He was speaking into a microphone, his voice shifting, pitching up. He was using a voice modulator. "I don't think I'm going to make it, babe," he said, in Chloe's voice.
The avatar on the screen mouthed the words perfectly. Lucas, the real Lucas, was crying. Tears were streaming down his face. "Don't say that," he replied in his own voice. "You're going to be fine." He was acting out a deathbed scene. He was saying goodbye to his wife on a live stream that was being broadcast to millions. But where was Chloe? I pressed harder against the glass. I scanned the room. The basement was cluttered with boxes, cables, and, in the corner, behind the server racks, there was a cot, a makeshift bed. Someone was lying there. I squinted through the rain-streaked glass. It was Chloe, the real Chloe. She wasn't moving. Panic, cold, and electric shot through me. I didn't think. I smashed the window with my elbow. The glass shattered inward. The alarm didn't go off. Maybe he disabled it to keep the noise from ruining the stream. Lucas spun around, ripping the headset off. The digital Chloe on the screen froze, her eyes dead and vacant. "Who's there?" Lucas screamed. He looked wild, unhinged. "It's over, Lucas," I shouted, climbing through the broken window, glass crunching under my boots. "I know what you're doing." Lucas backed away, tripping over a cable. "Get out! You don't understand." I rushed to the cot in the corner. "Chloe?" I reached down and touched her shoulder. She was cold. Not dead cold, but clammy, unresponsive. Her chest was rising and falling in shallow, ragged hitches. There was an IV drip hooked up to her arm, the bag hanging from a shelf bracket. She was sedated, heavily. "She's sick," Lucas said. His voice was trembling. He held his hands up, surrendering. "She's sick, okay? She has been for a year. Early onset Parkinson's. It took her motor functions first, then the tremors." I stared at him. "So you replaced her?"
"We needed the money," Lucas yelled, the desperation cracking his voice. "The treatments aren't covered. The insurance denied us. The channel is the only thing paying for the doctors, the nurses, the meds. If the sponsors knew she was sick, if they knew the adventure was over, they'd drop us. We'd lose the house. We'd lose everything." I looked at Chloe. She looked frail, wasted away. This wasn't a hostage situation. It was a hospice. "So you built a digital copy," I said, the horror shifting into something sadder, grayer. "She wanted to keep going," Lucas sobbed. "She wanted to see the world, even if it was fake. She voices the character on the good days, but lately there haven't been any good days. She can't speak clearly anymore." He gestured to the screen, where the beautiful, healthy avatar of his wife was frozen in 4K resolution. "I was letting her go," Lucas whispered. "Tonight, I was going to let her die online. A tragic complication from the accident. The fans would mourn. We'd do a tribute video. And then I could stop lying. I could just take care of her until the end." I stood there in the humming basement, the rain pouring in through the broken window. The discrepancy resolved itself. The violence I thought I saw, the argument, the murder, it was just the frustration of a caregiver, the breakdown of a man drowning in lies and medical bills. But then I saw the other monitor. It was a chat log, a private message window. It was open on the side screen. Sender, V-Star Media Management. Message: "The engagement numbers on the accident arc are through the roof, Lucas. Plus 400% retention. We need to drag this out. Do not kill her off yet. If she dies, the revenue stream drops. Keep her in the coma for at least another month. We have a protein powder sponsor lined up for the miracle recovery angle." I looked at Lucas. He saw me looking at the screen. His expression changed. The sadness evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard calculation. "You're not doing this for her," I said, stepping back. "You're doing it for the contract. It costs $50,000 a month to keep this setup running," Lucas said, his voice flattening out. He reached behind him, his hand closed around a heavy metal server wrench. "Do you have any idea how expensive hope is?" He lunged. I didn't fight him like a hero. I fought him like a terrified neighbor. I grabbed the nearest thing, a tripod, and swung it. It cracked against his wrist, sending the wrench clattering across the concrete. Lucas tackled me. We hit the floor, rolling through the tangle of wires. He was younger, but he was weak from months of living in the dark. I shoved him off, kicking him into the server rack. Sparks showered down. The cooling fans groaned and died. The screens flickered. On the main monitor, the digital Chloe glitched. Her face melted, revealing the wireframe geometry underneath. The illusion shattered. I scrambled up and ran for the stairs. I didn't look back at the real Chloe. I couldn't save her. Not like this. I needed the police. I burst out the front door into the rain and sprinted across the street to my house. I locked the door, grabbed the phone, and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My neighbor, I gasped, watching the Vance house through the window. He's holding his wife hostage. He attacked me. The police arrived in 6 minutes. Silent approach, no sirens. They swarmed the house. I watched from my living room. I saw them kick down the door. I saw the flashlights sweep the windows. I saw them drag Lucas out in handcuffs. Then the paramedics went in. They brought Chloe out on a stretcher. She was still unconscious, a small, fragile shape under the heavy blankets. It was over. I gave my statement. I told them everything. The basement, the deepfakes, the fraud.
The officer took notes, looking at me like I was writing a sci-fi novel, until the forensics team confirmed the server farm downstairs. I went to bed at 4 a.m. For the first time in years, I thought I might actually sleep. But I checked my phone one last time. Habit. I opened YouTube. The Vance Van Life channel was live. My stomach dropped. Lucas was in jail. Chloe was in the hospital. The equipment was seized. But there it was, the live badge pulsating red. I clicked it. It was Lucas, or a version of him. He was sitting in the van, the digital van, parked on a digital cliff edge in Switzerland. The sun was setting behind him. "Hey guys," the avatar said. His voice was smooth, perfect. "Crazy night. We had some technical issues, and we've got a bit of a situation." The avatar leaned into the camera, looking directly at me. "We have a stalker," Digital Lucas said. "A crazy neighbor back home. He's been harassing our house sitters. He even called the cops and made up this insane story about us being there. Can you believe that?" I stared at the screen. The view count was climbing. 50,000, 100,000. "Don't believe the rumors," the avatar continued, flashing that $1,000,000 smile. "We're still here. We're never coming home." The comments were flying by faster than I could read. "OMG, stay safe. Neighbors are the worst. We believe you, Lucas." I looked out my window. The Vance house was dark. Police tape fluttered across the door. The driveway was empty. But on the screen, the lie was more alive than ever. The management company, V-Star Media, they had the keys. They had the backups. They didn't need Lucas. They didn't need Chloe. They owned the likeness rights. The avatar of Lucas raised a glass of wine to the camera. "To the journey," he said. I looked at the darkness of the real world, and then at the brightness of the screen, and I realized, with a terrifying clarity, that the truth didn't matter. The neighbors I watched didn't exist anymore. They were just intellectual property now, and the show would go on forever.